All right.
Greetings, everyone. Hi, I'm Daniel Landry, and I am running for supervisor for District 5 in San Francisco. And I thank you all for tuning in to this very special occasion. This is somewhat an informal kickoff, but this is the perfect timing for me to announce myself to all the voters here in the city of San Francisco, as well as to give you some ideas about who I am, my campaign, what I stand for, the platform, and why I think it's important that we create a third platform here in District 5 of San Francisco. Let me say, first of all, I don't think it's proper to do anything without uttering and thanking God for giving you the ability to step out every day and live this thing we call life. And I would be remiss and I would be not doing my job well to not thank the Almighty God for allowing me just this moment to share with you about my campaign and who I am. So again, I'm Daniel Landry. I was born and raised here in San Francisco in 1968. I grew up in the district that we call the Fillmore Western Addition. When my mother moved here to San Francisco from Meridian, Mississippi in the 1950s, she came from the conditions of the hardships of the South, which in them days, of course, you had to deal with segregation, you had to deal with racism, you had to deal with all the things that led the great out-migration from the South here to the West. Many of my aunties, my mother came here looking for opportunity and looking for a well-paying job. And once she arrived here in San Francisco, there was many family members that already had came here in the early 1950s. So I have two brothers. I have one sister that passed away, which was my baby sister. I have a pretty large family from Mississippi, and San Francisco is not only my home. San Francisco is actually the bedrock of my family tradition. What I mean by that, everyone knows that the out-migration of the South to the West was looking for opportunity. And today we face a lot of challenges of all the work of the civil rights movement, of the black liberation movement that fought hard to give us these rights is being rolled back. My mother told me, even at the age of 10 years old, she tried to drill in me the fact that, of course, we need education. Of course, we need community participation. But she kept saying to us as little boys growing up in the Fillmore district that beyond all of this, we need to have a quality of life. So today, I stand here in front of you at the age of 51, and I see that in our city, a lot of things is not getting done because of the quality of life issues that's not being addressed by our administration. Whether you talk about homelessness, whether you talk about health care, whether you talk about education, affordable housing, mental illness, all of this extends from quality of life issues that's not being addressed from the perspective of, you take a person who may feel that their life is not heading in the right direction, and then they lose sight of where they're trying to head to, and then this is where you find the trickle-down effect of mental illness, and then the city says, well, how do we deal with these type of people? How do we address some of the hardships that people go through? Well, when we talk about quality of life, and I promise you that you can't talk about quality of life without the basics. So I want to run a campaign that address food, shelter, and clothing. I want to run a campaign that address the basic needs that I believe we all have a right to. So Dr. King, and as you can see back here, this is a video that's one of my favorite, spoke about educated vote. And I think it's appropriate always to, as we pursue elections, is to understand that there's a big difference between an educated vote and just a regular vote. Let's listen in to Dr. King for one moment.
Even greater responsibility, and that is to go out to vote. Now, I'm not going to be long. I'm going to be very brief. I'm not here to make a speech. I'm here to make a plea, and I'm here to urge you to do something that I think you will do and something that I think you want to do. Each of us has a moral responsibility if we are the voting age and if we are registered to participate in that decision. I come here to urge every person under the sound of my voice to go to the polls on the 3rd of November and vote your conviction. Now, I know you're intelligent people, and I don't need to tell you who you should vote for. I don't have any fear about that. You know who to vote for. I'm just asking you to vote. And so all men of goodwill will go to the polls on November the 3rd. And I hope we will have a great day in our nation so that when we wake up on the 4th of November, we will know that America has made the right decision.
So, I think when we talk about an educated vote, and I want to get directly to the point, San Francisco has a problem. As I look over the years, the last 2 decades, there's many reports, there's many studies have been done about the problem. Whether we're talking about policing, whether we're talking about education, or the homeless problems, there's been money put towards these reports, but then when you read the reports, it's like almost redundant in the sense that the same, like for instance, the unfinished agenda. Unfinished agenda was in 1992. The unfinished agenda spoke about the demise of the Black African American community because of the San Francisco Redevelopment Agency. Unfortunately, that was 1992. Now, if you read the out-migration report, you'll hear some of the same language, including why the unfinished agenda wasn't finished. This is problematic. We need in this district and city supervisors that will take these reports off the shelf and actually implement these policies that addresses many of the issues that plague us today. What I want to do is to actually give city voters a chance to see that many of these problems that exist, we already have the solutions. And the only thing that's stopping these policies for being implemented is because of the will of the officials at City Hall. So we need a supervisor that's not tied to the machine. We need a supervisor that's independent and a supervisor that's grassrooted in the district to be able to speak on these issues and ideas in a way that they won't compromise, but in a way that they will speak directly from the people's perspectives and get these policies and ideas implemented quickly. Unfortunately, we have a transportation problem. We have so many cars on the streets that the fatalities that you see daily, and this talk of zero fatalities, maybe it might be a good idea to say, well, before we start thinking about having zero fatalities, we need to address Uber, Lyft, that's got cars all throughout San Francisco that's taking up the roads. We need more bikes lanes. We need to support our transportation infrastructure. We need to pay more attention about the cleanliness of our buses and why our buses don't run on time. We need to see if this bullet train coming through the state of California, how will that address and deal with San Francisco bottom line when it comes to the transportation problem. Housing. Homelessness issue, believe it or not, a friend of mine told me the homelessness issue is being addressed in Finland, and it's almost to a point where they say they can declare they don't even have a homeless problem. So what's the matter with San Francisco? San Francisco, a city with 18 billionaires, has a homeless problem because we won't tax those who's bringing in the most money, to the degree that we can solve the homeless problem almost overnight if the city officials would have the courage to call out all of those who makes the tremendous revenues from these corporations and tech companies. This is a must. This is something you can't sweep under the rug, and this is something that we all as San Franciscans should be identifying and pressing the buttons to our supervisors to hold them accountable. Homicides. Yes, it's true, San Francisco homicides is declining. And there needs to be credit where credit is due. I would say we need to pat all ourselves on the back from District 5, who took a bold position when it came to community policing. We need to look at SVIP and all the groups, all the organizations, the grassroots organizations that in the early 2000s said, you know what, gang injunction is wrong. Sending young people to jail and for them not to be able to make bail is wrong. This is a city that's better than that. This is a city that brags about being a sanctuary city, but we got people that's spending time incarcerated because they can't make bail. All of that, to me, contribute towards the decline in homicides in San Francisco. And when homicides was going up, unfortunately, our San Francisco Police Department want to take credit for homicides going down, but they never want to take responsibility for homicides when it's climbing. That's a problem. Because we deserve, as citizens of San Francisco, a police department that not only hear from its constituents, but actually implement programs like the Beat Patrol that we spoke about dearly in 2007 and 2006, that the only way we're going to get rid of this thing that we call the violence in our community is that when we all take it personal and understand that we all have a serious role to play, which community policing is the community policing itself, which the police department then will free them up to do the investigations and follow through with the cases that sit and remain cold cases. Another part of that is concerning is that in 2016, the district attorney came out with they facilitated the Blue Ribbon panel report. This report was done, as many of you might know, when Mario Woods was actually killed by the San Francisco Police Department. We stood up as a community and we told our city that enough is enough. We believed at that time, and even to this day, we deserve more from a chief, administration, a command staff, captains, lieutenants, sergeants, all the way down to the rank and file, that we wanted to see San Francisco take responsibility for killing young black males and the mentally ill that happens all the time in this city. there's been over 10, I don't know the exact number, killings from law enforcement officers, and no officers have went to jail or have been convicted for killing people in the streets of San Francisco. That, in my mind, is something that I want to address, and I would like for those who see our city heading in the wrong direction when it comes to how we be in law enforcement, so we can all sit down and we have this conversation of where we go from here. That may need to be a ballot initiative that change our charter. Some have said that, you know, maybe the chief position needs to be tweaked. I know in San Antonio that, you know, the police chief is an elected position, similar to like you would have your sheriff be elected in a city county like San Francisco. These are some of the ideas and some of the creative thinking to think outside the box that we need here in San Francisco. Another thing that I want to identify is the district itself. The district itself is divided by politics in neighboring communities. District 5, which you have all these smaller neighborhoods that make up District 5. I believe it's over 12, from Alamo Square to the Panhandle to here in the Fillmore Western Addition, Japantown. Well, are these small little communities or neighborhoods within the district having the conversation to reach consensus? I don't think so. And we need to repeat the model of an advisory-like committee that will give the facts and the information to the supervisor, so the supervisor can actually bring them ideas to the city and have a unified district. I don't think District 5 is unified like it could be, but you elect me and put me in office, I will assure you that we will have a community District 5, and I will propose this to the city, citywide district advisory committees. Nice. I believe all supervisors should have a makeup within their own district, an advisory committee that can address the issues that's more important to them versus the districts fighting each other over finances, grants, and all the things that come from City Hall that sometimes that makes us at odds with each other. This would help nonprofit organizations. This would help the business community come together. And now, speaking of business, this vacancy tax law is needed. Here in our district, District 5 of the Fillmore District, we're dealing with vacant units that you see on the corridor of the Fillmore area, up and down Fillmore Street. And there's a great divide between the upper Fillmore district and the lower Fillmore district. None of us win from this. And this is why people like myself, Eris Edgerly, Majid Crawford, fought hard to keep the community benefit district in place. Because the community benefit district, when it was present here, was a way that the owners, the merchants, the community itself could have this discussion about how do we protect and preserve our corridor. So what we have now is a corridor that's dying, a corridor that a lot of people identify as the lower Fillmore that really don't get the resource that's necessary, and it's something that is like a black eye in terms of when you see our community in despair, and it moves us back into the identifying community as being a poverty area that has blight. We must address this, and we must put pressure on the owners and the city politicians to help again facilitate and motivate property owners and merchants to all come back to the table and create that community benefit district. And if we don't push the vacancy tax on a lot of these corridor owners, you will see again more decline. And we have watched and witnessed tremendously black businesses closing at a pace of literally once a year. One business closed a year in the last 10 to 15 years. This is unfortunate, but this is something that now I think the city has got to take a real look at and see how can you put more resources towards stopping the hemorrhaging of the Fillmore corridor. Mental health. Well, it's obvious that in the city of San Francisco, when you have a city that is declared a world-class city, that you have a lot of people that's making a lot of money, you have a lot of wealth here, you have a lot of corporations, you have a lot of people who see this city as a big opportunity. The flip side of that, when you have others who come here and can't get them type of opportunities for whatever reason, you have a great divide. And I believe wholeheartedly that the mentally ill issue is rooted in injustice and inequality. Because you can't ask a human being who can't get the basic needs to be sane. You can't ask a human being who don't know, okay, am I living on the streets? Will I be outdoors and you know, without food? And don't know their situation a month from now, 2 months from now, 6 months from now. You can't ask a human being to be happy, to be joyful and say, look, they need to just participate. So I'm saying to all of us that we need to take a real stern position when it comes to mental health. We need to look at what is the root causes of mental health. And if it's what I believe, injustice, inequality, and in our community, we deal with the scars of a community that has not healed from the redevelopment era. You must pour resources, and the city must find a way, with the budget of our city, to find a way to open up more assistant facilities. And it's unfair that to put city departments at odds with each other on who will, you know, be the decision maker when it comes to mental health. And I think here in our city, we have seen supervisor after supervisor, including our present mayor, try to do a lot to address this issue. But until we really get to why our community have never been addressed to heal with the inequalities and the pain of going through the redevelopment agency era, then you will continue to see the mental health issue decline. So I think for me, you know, I'm happy to stand before the people and represent a new campaign. A campaign that will be based on quality of life issues. A campaign that will be rooted in the people. A campaign, again, that's not tied to big corporations. A campaign that will work day and night. And I have a form that I put together because I want to do a survey within District 5, and I want to ask the people, what do you see? What are some of your ideas? And so we can start this dialogue and this interaction among the constituents of D5 and my campaign for this year. I want to see, vision-wise, District 5 turn it around within 5 to 10 years. I know that the people here is working hard. I know that people want to just have the opportunity, but I think this year is very serious, and I think we need to be more truthful among each other, that the people must use their educated vote to put someone in office who's been here for as long as I have, 51 years. My track record speaks for itself. I've been working in the community over 25 years. I've volunteered. I've been that type of activist that I have listened to the community, and I have actually been on the front line. These are the types of things I bring to the table. I bring that courage. I bring that attitude that never give up, never compromise when it comes to progress. And I think our city deserves a supervisor that will not only pay attention to the city issues, but will work day and night to address the district issues. Once I'm elected, I will open my door. I will have an open door policy. So no matter if you're a D5 constituent or you're a San Franciscan, you will be able to knock on my door and visit your supervisor. This is the type of supervisor we need. Mm-hmm. We need a supervisor that is willing to set up a satellite office within his district. Come up out of City Hall. Come up out of City Hall. Set up a satellite office within your district so people can knock on your door. We need a supervisor that's not going to give lip service and try to overpromise and underdeliver. We have seen this time and time again. I started off as a Green Party member in 2000. I supported, at that time, Matt Gonzalez when I ran a quick campaign myself. And at that time, I was really concerned and cautious on the direction of our city. And I seen even in 2000 homicides increasing in our district, and I seen the wealth and I seen the economy falling within the black community. So I'm here to address and now implement all these reports and studies that for some reason never get implemented. We must speak truth to each other and truth to our mayor. You know as well as I know that here in D5, you have many people saying, well, the issue is not just money. The issue is about housing. But I would beg the difference if we spend so much time talking about housing and never ever deal with individuals, because care not cash hurted the community. Many of the policies that we seen years ago, now we're seeing the result of this rogue policy that now have put us on a decline. So I want to resurrect these ideas and champion a new direction. And it all starts from us paying attention to quality of life issues. Quality of life issues is the bedrock of moving this city forward. So if you have time to join on to what I call the Daniel campaign, the D team, we will knock on every door in this district. I will sit down with every single constituent of D5. And if you would just give me a time and lend me your ear, I will be willing to share with you my goals, objectives, and vision. Not only that, we want to hear from you. And this is what the survey form is about. We really want to know what our D5 constituents is thinking. We want to know what the people are thinking in Midtown. We want to know what the people are thinking here in King Garvey Co-op. We want to know what the people are thinking in Plaza East and Alamo Square and Divisadero. We want to know, what do you see for D5? So in closing, just on a personal note, this community is very dear to me. Like again, I said from the beginning, I'm born and raised here in D5, and since 1968, this is the only place I could call home. My family, my father, who has worked here in the community, my first job was actually where I stand below this office here at Economic Opportunity Council, which we call EOC. I learned a lot. I'm proud to be a part of a family that worked hard and was on the front line from the 60s and 70s. But I also am under no illusions that there's a price that comes with tradition. And there's a price that comes with knowing that you have to take a stand. This is the right time to take a stand. And I will ask each and every one of you to join on to this campaign, and let's make history. Let's turn back the times and let's defeat the odds. And it all starts from us believing and seeing ourselves and understanding that we must be educated when we vote. We should never vote out of emotions and vote just to be voting. We need to know the candidate. We need to know the candidate history, and then we need to follow up. Like some would say, voting is just the beginning. You don't vote someone in office and then go home and do nothing. You vote someone in office and you pick up the phone, you ask them, what can you do? And you keep them, addressing the issue as you go. But to say that I vote for you, now it's all on you, I think it really, in the long run, it doesn't help the community, and it's something that I want to change. I want us to bring the best out of our voters here in San Francisco. So I thank you. Change your battery, because I know your phones, and I appreciate everyone who have tuned in. Just a little housekeeping. We will have fundraising events coming up. We intend to put on a major event that would be in honor of this campaign here in D5, that would also give people an opportunity to support the campaign. Once my website will come up, which is daniellandry2020.com, you can go there and you can also donate. I'm just excited. I'm excited to just get this thing rolling. Yeah. So, thank you very much. I appreciate it. Signing off.
1,000 signatures. With signatures.
Oh yeah, and my pastor, my pastor have just informed me too. So we will be out in the streets to gather signatures, and we want to do this like the old days. Hitting the street precinct by precinct, block by block, and gather 1,000 signatures. And this, to be continued, I will be bringing the date and time and all that. But this is pretty much is going to be somewhat our beginning headquarters here in King Garvey until we spread abroad on the Fillmore corridor or even on Haight, which I anticipate we will have a lot of activity up on Haight. And another thing to announce, so we want to make Juneteenth this year and the Jazz Festival pretty much all about the 2020 campaign. So you will see booths, you will see a lot of things that's dealing with my campaign. And I also want to say, we have another campaign coming up to the Democratic Central Committee, and vote for Gloria Berry. That's in March. And I think we should just participate and we should get involved, because these are very important campaigns coming up. And of course, we have the presidential, which would be in November of this year. So thank you very much again, and look forward to speaking to you again, and thank you.
All to the people.